well, welcome back to part 2 of this episode where Jonathan and I get a lot long-winded, some late nights. We spent chatting. We just don't like to go to bed. We just talk too much. But I'm really excited to hear what you have next. I know you had a lot of things. They said 5 or 6 things that you could potentially be working on. What did you finally decide to do?
So 3 things. So I've been focused on CitiTurf for some amount of time, as we talked about, and I'm going to stay focused on CitiTurf. We'll call that the main thing. And I don't have next year planned out, but we'll call that for sure the remainder of 2024. But I see it as being a pretty large part of 25 as well. The second thing, so Riley, you know Riley, my son,
Of course.
he has a software product called EveryChat. And I'm very aware of the product, but I've been gone a lot of the last many years. And so we talk about the product and we talk about what's going on, and I'm very aware of it. But I don't know all the details. I don't, not involved in it in any way. And I've always liked the idea. I've told him, I think you're onto something. And then when I started working on the CitiTurf business, so much of what I needed to be able to do from a marketing standpoint, the types of marketing I thought would be the most effective with the best conversion, just kept kind of going back. They kept going back to his product because his product is heavily text-based. And I need that text messaging functionality that he's got. And so it got me thinking, and I basically approached him and said, hey, man, I really could use this product at CitiTurf. I knew he was getting traction with a bunch of other companies, but for me to use it at CitiTurf, I would need it to do a few things that are probably quite a ways out on your radar. And so it opened up this conversation where it's like, would you be open to doing this? How's this fit into your roadmap? What are you hearing from your other clients or prospective clients that are waiting on you to build functionality and then they'll adopt it? Kind of found some alignment. So it's got me pretty interested in what he's doing, and I've become a little more involved, just being aware of what he's doing, talking about where he's at, trying to give him advice. If he's asking for advice, basically my advice is, here's what I did at Service Autopilot. Here's what you don't want to do. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, I learned some lessons, and let me tell you what I wouldn't do the next time. And then also, here are the things we got right, because there was a lot we got right as well. But so it's that kind of advice. So I've been spending a fair bit of time working with him, designing new functionality for that system that will make it, will turn that system into something that CitiTurf could use in a massive way. And so that's been a ton of fun. In fact, when we're done here today, I've got another call. And then after that, I'll be working the rest of the afternoon on a design for some functionality that's really, I think, incredibly awesome. That will be marketing functionality. And so anyway, that's one of the things I'm working on. Again, it's his business. It's his thing. I'm not interrupting it. I'm not taking it over. I'm just like, hey, man, tell me if I can help you. And if you want me to work on something, I'd love to help you with it. And so he's given me a number of things like, hey, can you kind of help me figure this thing out? So I'll design up some of this functionality. Like yesterday, I handed over a design to him, which was all just drawn out on paper. And then he'll take it and turn it into real design so that he can then start working on the development of it. So that's something I'm working on, but that's just going to be a small thing. At least right now it is. And so that's been fun. And it's kind of fun to work with him. And then the third thing is I'm launching a new YouTube channel, initially just YouTube initially. And then I eventually, my expectation, if I can get traction and if I continue to enjoy it, which I think I will, I've done it before, I know I will, then I will grow it into more. I'll go to other social channels, but initially I'm just going to start out on YouTube again. So those are the 3 things that I'm allowing myself to do.
Are we allowed to say what it is yet?
Yeah. The name of the channel is 5 for 50, which probably requires an explanation, does require an explanation, but the name of the channel is 5 for 50. And yeah, so I guess you can ask me whatever you want to ask me about that before I ramble on.
What does 5 for 50 stand for? I know because you told me before. But
I forgot I told you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not surprised I told you.
You told me, but again, I'm not allowed to say, so I just keep my mouth shut until you tell me it's okay.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So 5 for 50, I was trying to I like naming things, like Service Autopilot was trying to cast a vision in your brain. of what the system could do for you. It's like I tried, and then Lawn Care Millionaire it's the thing everybody dreams of being of. So you're kind of casting a vision. When it came to the social stuff, I really just wanted to use my name, and I decided that wouldn't work. I talked to a couple people that had complicated last names, and a couple of them like, I really wish I had never done it. I wouldn't have used my last name. And so I just got scared off from using my name. I just wanted to use my name for all social stuff.
I mean, it's not that difficult. Just
you've known me a long time.
Spell it out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You've known me a long time. When I played sports all through school, and I don't know if anybody ever said my name right on the, loudspeakers. I mean, nobody ever, even they knew me. I was in class with these guys and they'd still get my name wrong. They were my coaches. So I've had such an experience with people not remembering the name or being able to spell it that I was concerned about it. And I don't know with certainty, and maybe it doesn't matter because, you can Google search most stuff and Google correct it and get it close enough. I just didn't know. So I decided, man, maybe the safer thing is to just make up a new name, kind of like Lawn Care Millionaire. But I wanted to go a bit more broad. And so 5 for 50 is essentially a statement. It's a belief from me. And I think I can use the name in a variety of different ways long-term, but basically the statement is, I believe that it takes about 5 years to build a business where you have to put your head down, do the hard work. You have to be focused on doing the right actions to develop yourself and to develop that business. And if you do that, and most people say they're doing it, but they're not. And if you do that, then the next 50 years of your life, essentially the rest of your life, will be unlike anyone else's. It's transformational what putting your head down for 5 years will do. But it's more than just saying to yourself, I'm going to show up and do 5 years of hard work out in the field. It's doing the right stuff. It's getting the coaching. It's being around the right people. It's pushing yourself to go faster and hire that first employee faster. It's building the recruiting systems. It's a lot of stuff you've got to do to build the foundation. And maybe the statement for me is that a lot of people are selling you can have this incredible life and business after a year or two or 60 days or 90 days. Like if you buy this course, and that stuff works. It works incredibly well, but it's BS. It takes 5 years, in my belief. I've done 3 things past 8 figures. It takes 5 years to dig the foundation of the business and build the foundation of the business and assemble that early team that defines the culture and all these other things, so that you've now got a vehicle that can go an engine, in a sense, that will go faster and faster and faster to build the thing, which will build your life. And then we've talked about this, like to build something of quality that can go faster, that can, become this engine that's like this business takes on a life of its own. You have to build yourself.
So if you haven't heard about Gorilladesk yet, it's a super sick software. It's actually made by one of my really close friends, Chris Moreshi. So Chris built Gorilladesk to help streamline his own personal business over 10 years ago. But now Gorilladesk is used by over 4,000 companies. And today it's become one of the most premier platforms in our industry. So what's really unique about Gorilladesk is that it's a simple all-in-one solution that's really easy for your team to use. Gorilladesk offers a seamless onboard experience and best-in-class support with no additional cost. It's all included in your subscription. Inside the software, you'll find a whole suite of features: scheduling, invoicing, routing, and sales pipelines, integrated VoIP, text messaging, and pretty much all the automation you're going to need, and much, much more. So if you guys are still relying on paper or spreadsheets or fighting with an old software, I highly recommend that you guys check out Gorilladesk. So we have a link in our description. Click on that and it'll take you right to their free trial. Now let's get back to the show.
If you look at the top CEOs of major corporations, a lot of them are in pretty decent shape.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Why is that? Because it's massively about energy management. It's about self-discipline. It's about so many things that people don't associate with the business. It's a lot of people have really jacked up lives and they still build successful businesses, but I don't look at that as a story of success. It's kind of hard to trash your entire personal life and everybody around you and your relationships with your kids and your spouse, and then show up every day and run a great organization. You've got to have other things in life in check. Otherwise, they're massive drains. Now, people have totally trashed lives and still build big businesses, and that definitely happens. But you also tend to see that a lot of people are a little more well put together in general. Not always, but in general. Or they get out of the things, get all messed up, and then they fix those. They have to fix those things. Building the business turns you into a different kind of human being. And so that is part of this 5-year thing. It's this 5-year journey of building the business and building yourself. And it doesn't mean in 5 years it's over. It doesn't mean you're done. It just means there'll be another 5-year journey. And there could be all these different journeys in your life, but it starts with that first one where you go all in and say, I'm getting out of the field. I'm going to learn these skills. I'm going to actually work more than 37 hours a week. I'm going to stop watching Netflix all the time. I'm going to stop scrolling TikTok all the time. Like, you can just go down the list. And I'll wrap with this. The other thing that sort of inspired this name is, as we've talked about, my longer term plan, and this has been kind of delayed from what I was thinking, was I do want to work with young entrepreneurs. And the reason it's delayed is I'll build this platform, and I got excited about CitiTurf, and then I'm helping Riley, and it's not taking tons of my time, but I got distracted with those things. Well, the name is sort of a statement to that market, to the younger individuals. So many are bombarded with you need to have it like this. And if they don't have it like that, they give up, or they feel like they're a failure, and they're just not paying attention to reality. And there are so many people that are beating themselves up thinking they're underperforming, they're failing because they're not getting their thing fast enough. And then they get out of the game. And these could be the very individuals that could build incredible companies, incredible lives. So that's what the name means.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media, obviously, right? They see these young kids taking a picture in front of a new Bentley or whatever, well, probably just rented the car.
Yeah, you know nothing. I mean, you know nothing about reality. Yeah, you don't know what's true. We do live in this really incredibly awesome time where you can get some fast success. It can happen, and it does happen. So it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just like it doesn't happen like that most of the time. I came up with when I was kind of back in the day and the learning from Dan Kennedy and other people, really starting to learn marketing. Most of the people in that world were what I would call marketing gurus. They had informational businesses, like they were selling a marketing course, an ebook. They had lots of informational businesses. And what you would see in those businesses is they would go real quick. They'd go up, and then they'd also come right back down. And I just noticed in that world that very few people were building these big sustainable businesses. You'd go to these events and you'd hear everybody, I made $1 million last year. I made $3 million. Like, you'd hear all these numbers. It was exciting. I remember this guy I got 4 houses. He had a whole entourage following him around. He was selling information in the real estate space. And you'd look at that and you're like, well, that's really cool. I'd love to have that someday. But the reality was, for many, not all, but for many, those businesses went up and they fell apart just as fast. There was no real operations being built. And so this kind of thinking has always existed. Fast growth can happen. But again, let's go back to foundation. You can, yes, potentially build something that makes millions of dollars really quick, but is it you going to own it in 10 years? Are you going to parlay that into something that's a 10 million or 100 million? You don't even have to have those big of ambitions, but you don't even have to get there to have an incredible transformative life based on how you grew up and where you came from. But my point is simply that it takes some time to build a foundation, you being like what you have to become, and then also the foundation in the business that can support something that will last for a long, long time, or is frankly capable of being sold, that somebody would want to buy it because it's a good enough business.
Yeah, awesome. I got a lot to say there. But I had a pre-written question already. So when did you start your health journey? And do you see a correlation between business and health? It's funny that you brought that up. That you said, like, look at the largest CEOs, like, look at their health.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I see a correlation. It's business is largely about energy management. I mean, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're eating like crap, and you're drinking all the time, which will trash your sleep and trash your next day, then how are you working at peak level? But on top of that, how are you even remaining optimistic? If you don't feel that great because of what you've consumed, then your brain functions in a totally different way. And that go for it attitude diminishes. And then also, if you're not optimistic, and I believe feeling good and having a high level of energy creates optimism. If you're not optimistic, then how do you go for it? How do you push? And so it's correlated in so many ways. And I think it's really correlated as you get older. Like you can kind of trash your 20s to a large degree and your body will recover. But as you start getting, into your 40s and up, you have to try a little harder, and so I want to be in the game when I'm 70. And a lot of people are not in the game when they're 70. And the people I look at that I think are, I find it I think when I look at somebody that's 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're still in the game and they're still sharp, like that's the life I want. Well, the only way you're going to get that life is to really be taking care of yourself. And so correlation's massive.
2 weeks ago, I passed a year of being on carnivore.
Yeah. I guess I didn't know it'd been a year. Okay. Wow. Good for you.
Yesterday or the day before, I passed 4 years of not drinking.
It's been 4 years? Jeez. I would have. Yeah, I guess it was back in yeah.
And that's when I started Turf Badgers 2021. So it's all in.
That's so awesome. God, so good.
So next year will be year 5 for Turf Badger, and it makes sense. You just have to put your head down and grind for the first 5 years. But look what we've done in 4. I can't imagine what we're going to do in 5 more years.
You're in foundation building phase. Like it's going already. It's fast. You've got foundation, but you're still even building foundation. Like you still got more leadership team, I think, to go. You've got all kinds of stuff, and just imagine how much faster it starts going as you get further down that road.
It's been wild every single year. Like what we've accomplished in 5 years, 4 years, and every year how it just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's been awesome. But it's like you told me a long time ago. It's like hire the really good people and then watch it take off. And that's what it is. Like just get out of the way. Like, yeah, we come up with the ideas. We have to do the hiring. We got to find the good people and just get out of their way and let them run with it. Because you'd always tell me, like, go, hire faster, hire faster, hire faster. And then I think you sat there and thought about it. And it's like, you didn't necessarily mean technicians or CSRs. You're like, no, go hire the really good people faster. Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Yeah, it's unreal. They're so smart. So what is the YouTube channel going to be about?
So I'm focused on general business in-home services. So it's focused on general home services. So I'm broadening it out. The initial content will be a little bit more towards green industry. There's no getting around green industry. That's
You're a lawn care millionaire.
Yeah, there's no getting around it, but I'm wanting to diversify a bit from just the green industry content because I know a fair bit about the other trades. A lot of what we do in one trade is applicable to the other trade. And on top of that, I'd like to expand my reach into other trades longer term from an investment standpoint. So, and I know a bunch of other people in the other trade. So it's going to be more general home services, general business. It probably will have a bent towards more of the recurring revenue home services. I like HVAC, I like plumbing, and they have a recurring element, but they're a little bit different types of businesses. So we'll touch on that. I'll interview people around those in those industries, but it'll probably be, again, more focused on, let's call it the recurring home service space. But I would also speak to eventually, as I imagine, we'll see where it goes, but I would also be thinking about people that cater to home services. So it's everything home services. So are you catering technology to home services? Are you providing marketing to home services? Are you building real estate for home services? Whatever the case might be, I will probably be for that group as well in touch. So it'd be a somewhat more broad conversation than what I had in the Lawn Care Millionaire channel.
So you're talking like not just going to do YouTube, you're probably going to have a podcast.
Yeah. So again, back to the focus thing. I can overthink all this stuff and I can overthink it and then question it like, will this work? It's going to be so much harder to get traction. I can get in my head on this. And then I can also, on the flip side of it, say, I need to do all this right now. And I need to start all these channels right now. But I'm making myself only do YouTube. So initially I'll just do some long form YouTube, probably for a couple months. And then I'll start doing shorts on YouTube. And then I'll take shorts probably to Facebook. TikTok is going to be the hardest one for me to do. But I know I need to do it. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
I don't look at it either. I check it like every other day just to clear notifications. And then that's about all I do.
Yeah, I installed it once a few years ago to see what it was about. And I'm like, and I was watching all the car videos on guys going up to people in their cars, like, how'd you get this car? And then I think maybe some homes and like that. And then that's all the content I was getting. It's like, I cannot have this on my phone. This is going to suck my life away. And so I deleted it. I've never looked at it since. And anyway, point there is that I know I need to do the other channels, but my progression most likely will be YouTube to Facebook. I don't know, Reels or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Are you going to do, like you're going to interview other companies, I'm assuming, or other people?
I'm going to initially do it just on Facebook, just on a YouTube.
Are you going to do like Riverside? What are you going to use? Or just is live in person?
My preference is to do it in person. We'll see where it goes. Yes, that is. So when CitiTurf's working on this project, to a construction project, and when we build that out, I'd like to potentially have a studio or something there. But we'll see how big this goes. I mean, I may get so distracted doing something else that I don't end up going quite down that road, or I just don't know. But when I think about it, my preference would be, I know enough people, I think I can get them to fly to Dallas and hang out.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And we do the live interview there. So I'll do some remote. I've already bought all the stuff to send it around for people to, do this kind of a thing, but I prefer to do it live. But my plan for the channel, and I'm going to wait for feedback from the audience, is at first it's sort of just talking head stuff, kind of like Lawn Care Millionaire.
Just you in front of a camera.
Just at first, yeah.
You and your iPhone.
No, I've got all the gear. I'm set up this time. So, and then I'll do interview stuff. And then I've got a number of other concepts that I might test to see what gets traction. And we'll just see where it goes. And then if I can get enough traction, like subscribers and interest, and I feel like it's working, then I'll start to build a team.
Awesome. And obviously there's a goal with this, not just to interview people, not just learn about the industry or have interviews. What's the end goal with the YouTube channel?
Honestly, don't have a goal. That is maybe the difference. Lawn Care Millionaire, there was a goal.
Yeah. To build Service Autopilot.
Yeah. It didn't start out as that. It started out just figuring out what functionality needed to be built in Service Autopilot and how would I sell Service Autopilot. I want to know what people were thinking about. And very quickly I realized, oh, wow, this really sells Service Autopilot. And so then the goal just became, keep showing up on Lawn Care Millionaire to sell Service Autopilot. Now with this channel, I have thought about this. Like, if I build a team, I'm going to be losing money on this thing every month. And I'm spending time. Last night I edited a video. Like, it just feels so wrong for me to be doing these types of activities. But I edited a video, and I've got a contractor, a fella that I've worked with for years that I sent, and he's going to do the second part of the editing on it. But anyway, where I'm going with that is it's just largely inefficient. And especially given I don't have a plan. And that's another area where I can get in my head and say, well, what's the plan? I need a plan. Like, what's the outcome going to be? And in this case, because of Lawn Care Millionaire, and it was so beneficial on selling Service Autopilot, but also it sold out Academy really fast. I mean, if you kind of rewind, those almost everybody came from Lawn Care Millionaire. We threw an event. And then I've made lots of friends. I've spoken at lots of events. People know who I am. I don't know who they are. It's just like, how much more proof do I need that, hey, this is just a good thing to do and there will be a use for it in the future. So there's that. I know that there will be outcome. I know that it's one of the single best uses of your time to build a reputation and a following. But on top of that, going back to, I just want to do what I like doing. And it's the argument of why I might do coaching again is I have come to conclude I like sharing ideas and teaching. And I think I get a lot of satisfaction from other people saying, hey man, my world's better because I knew you. That feels really good to me. It feels good. Like that feels like a life well lived to me.
Yeah. I'm living proof. I said that 2 days ago.
Yeah. It makes me feel good. I mean, like, okay, this feels like a good use of my time in my life. Real quick, going back to my taking a sabbatical, one of the things I noticed is, because we're in a very fortunate financial position. And so I don't have to think about money at all. I can do anything I want to do. And so what I noticed in myself is it's thinking about optimization. It's like, oh, what if I buy this house? Because and I think we've talked about this before. We'd always thought we were going to buy a house in Colorado. It had nothing to do with selling the business. And then I've changed my tune on having another home. But what about buying another car? Oh, I don't have enough garage spaces. Should I build a third garage on my property and have, it's like this stupid crap, like optimizing the next trip. This is what my brain starts thinking about. It's all optimization for my life. But if you go back to when I was working, my whole life was, how can I help my coaching team, those in the coaching group, and how can we make Service Autopilot better for our Service Autopilot? And then at family, I was always, I think about my boys. Like my whole life previously was focused on other people. I was not sitting around thinking about my next thing or getting another thing. I never sat around and said, how do I make another $1 million? I mean, of course we think about that. We're growing our business, but that's not your focus. My focus was on helping other people because I felt like if I help them, it makes me feel good. And also then we end up building something really good for them and we'll do fine. I always just thought it's the old Jim Rohn thing, it's Zig Ziglar. If you take care of I forget it. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I mean, I internalized that and I believe that. And so one of the big things that I learned during my sabbatical is my mind shifted to me. And I do not think that's a good way to live life. It's not a value. And I think if your focus is on other people, I think you're going to live a better and happier life. I mean, they talk about this when people that are depressed, not that this is the solution, but one solution outside of movement and activity and physical activity is helping other people and I think it's back to your brain shifts off of thinking about you all the time to think about other people. That's a good life. I think that's how people can be happy. And so, that's a minimization of what some people deal with. I'm not making a statement that if you just do that, your depression solved. It's not that easy, but I'm just, but those are little things that are proven to actually work. And so that's a big thing I learned that I did not like about a sabbatical. And so now bring this back to the 5 for 50 channel. I've had enough rewards with Service Autopilot, with Lawn Care Millionaire, with Academy, just thinking about other people and how do I help them get their thing, that I want to do that in this channel again. And so it's to close it out. I don't have the exact way it's going to benefit me, but I've learned I don't care. I don't need to know how it's going to benefit me because I get benefit from it if I can help other people as well. And I enjoy it. And I learn too by meeting all these people and talking. I've learned from you. And so it grows me as well. And another thing I learned during a sabbatical, and I kind of knew this going in, is, all the funnest people, all the most stimulating conversations, all my favorite things to do are like hanging out with other people that are moving the world forward, that are building things. A bunch of us can go to Cabo and sit at the hotel and just talk about business and do that stuff. And that is a ton of fun to me, or I can go to a business dinner and sit at a steakhouse for 4 hours. I love that. That is way more fun than most of the other things that people do with their lives that I don't find very interesting. And so this is my world. And so this keeps me in that world as well.
I have a question that I had written down, but you kind of briefed over it real quick. Did the Lawn Care Millionaire page help you sell Service Autopilot? And do you think you got a better evaluation because of it?
Oh, sell the business.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I don't think it's helped sell the business. I think with Lawn Care Millionaire and with Academy, they didn't value those things. Because I don't think they necessarily felt that Academy was sustainable after I was gone. I didn't necessarily think Academy was going to continue, and then they tried to continue it.
Yeah. We knew too.
Yeah. So nobody ever talked about that. They only talked about the software. And then only way Lawn Care Millionaire committed to, or contributed to the outcome on Service Autopilot was simply that helped build the business, and we got valued based on the speed of growth and the revenue of that business. So otherwise, no. They were smart enough buyers that they never thought that the personal brands would last because they knew I wasn't going to be there. They knew I was going to leave.
Right. Next question is, coming up, you're growing as a leader yourself, and you've been the number one guy in a lot of the companies that you've been running. But did you make more money as number one, or did you make more money in maybe positions 2 through 5 coming up. Right, like not at the end game, but during the process.
What do you mean by more money as running it versus positions 2 through 5? Do you mean like when I was selling?
Yeah, when you were building the company from, let's just say, day 1 through year 5. You said the first 5 years. You were hiring those people like Philip and all those guys. Were you making more than them, or were you taking less than them? And like going back to like the cleaning company, you were a partner, but you were like, let's just say you were 2 through 5. Like, were you making more money then, or when you started your own? Because people, where I'm trying to get at is people think, oh, just because you're running a business and started a business, like you're making way more money than everyone else, and they just see all this stuff. But actually, not true the first couple of years.
My first 3 years of service, I didn't get a salary.
There you go. So, and who was your number 2 and number 3 and number 4 guy?
Number 1 paid guy was our COO, Brian. And even when I took his salary, he probably made 3 times what I made for a long. I don't remember, because even Brian was underpaid. He was just a ridiculously awesome team member who didn't know any of the company, but was like, you don't need to pay me anymore. The company can't afford me. They can't afford paying me anymore. He did that all the time when we tried to give him a raise. Eventually, we took care of all that, but we weren't even the highest paid people in the company when we sold the business.
Yeah, and I figured that. I just said I'll put Fun John at number 1 just for fun.
For pay?
And then
John and I always kept our salaries exactly the same.
And then JP number 2. But then let's say 2 through 4 or 2 through 5 were probably making more money than the owners were making, obviously, until the exit.
Yeah, if you count what we made selling the business, yeah, I mean, we kind of blew all that out of the water. But yeah, I think when we sold the business, we were in the top 5 in terms of pay in the business, John and I. And I can't remember what we were, and that would have been salary. We weren't really taking a lot of distributions. We would have taken distributions over time. Some of my pay was, some of the distributions went to just paying me back, because I was funding Service Autopilot at $20,000 a month there for a while. And so in the early days, and so some of them paid me back, but we, to be fair, we also would have, say, split up the academy money that was coming. So we, in the end, were making good money. But if you just looked at payroll for years and years, we were never the highest paid.
And how long did it take you to get paid back from Service Autopilot, from the $20,000 a month?
I think I got paid back in 2000. We waited. So many things now I don't remember. We had already built up a bunch of money at Service Autopilot before I ever even paid myself back. I want to say I paid myself back in 2016 or 15 or something like that.
And you lived you were frugal, like almost to like a fault, he said.
Yeah. I mean, in 2015 or 16, we probably spent more than I actually realized. We lived on hundreds of thousands a year, but compared to what I made, it was very frugal.
When does the first episode drop?
So July 30th will be the first episode. And I'll post every Tuesday and Friday for now until I figure out what the right posting schedule is.
That's cool. How long is your videos going to be?
No, I'm probably no more than 2 hours. I'm teasing. Well, you know how I operate.
I do.
I've tried not to worry about too many details.
We don't have to worry about the long form content. We have to worry about the short form content that you can't do.
Yeah. That is truly the greatest stress. How the hell do I create a short? Like, what? And how do you can't convey any meaningful information in a short? That's anti-me. It's like, well, that's a waste of your time. This is just entertainment. What am I going to, so I really am having a hard time with this shorts thing, but I know I got to do it. And I understand, repurposing content and stuff. And I'm going to have to get somebody to start editing my videos and find all this. But yeah, no, my videos will probably be in the 6 to 18 minute range, probably is my guess. Yeah. I've already recorded several of the first videos, and they're kind of in that 8-minute range.
They're all getting edited right now, you said?
I'm not. Again, back to just getting the game. I trimmed the front and the back of them off. I don't have any end cards. I haven't built for the YouTube video. There's so many things I haven't done. I got, we are spending a little effort on thumbnails. First 3 thumbnails, a little less effort than the next. My first 3 videos are basically kind of introducing the channel in a sense. And so there's a whole lot that needs to be improved, but the format is very Lawn Care Millionaire-ish with a better camera and better lighting.
I mean, it's just not you sitting in your office in front of your iPhone?
No, and they might look like my first actual several I tried to make them personal. So I'm sitting right here, but I'm spinning around. I'm just sitting in front of a camera behind me. And so the first several, and I'll probably do a few of those from time to time just to vary up the background. But I'll bet my first 50 videos will predominantly just be me standing in this room.
That was my next question. When do you think you'll start doing interviews for people?
I've done 2, and that are both several hours. And so one is a pretty significant person in the robotic space. And then another one is somebody that happened to be staying at my house, Jordan Webb.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. He told me he was coming there.
Yeah. That was a while back. And that one was done on an iPhone, and it's not the same quality.
That's when he was speaking right down there?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So Jordan. So whomever comes to see me probably will be the next person I do. But Jordan's probably won't come out till October. I've already got my schedule built of what's coming. But we'll see what happens where I get traction, and I might vary it up.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I'm excited for you. It's going to be fun to watch.
I hope it goes well. I'd like it to be bigger than the last thing I did. So,
are you going to monetize it? Are you going to look for, people to run ads on there? You look for anything like that?
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, again, I just don't know. We'll see where it goes. You did touch on something. My number one goal is just to create quality content that people can take and action inside their life to get a result. And I would like to be more entertaining, but I'm not, I'm just not really going to probably do skits and whatever else might be entertaining. It's not me. And so it's going to still be very heavily teaching content. And that's where I have to remind myself that, and it's still going to stay constrained to home services. It's not going to be general business. And so it will be a smaller channel, and that's okay. And I'm not really worried about monetizing it with let's call it sponsors.
Because you're going to get those emails like in DMs daily. Hey, just sell this product, do this, do that, do this.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, if it was something maybe I really believed in, maybe I would do it. But and the only other way to justify it is like, okay, well, I'll build a team around me faster but I'm very leery of doing it. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. It might make sense. I would be very hardcore on who I would let be a sponsor because it's associated to my name. And it's like, is that just more of a pain in the butt? I can afford to do this without, doing that. So if I do in the future, it's not a sellout. I believe in the sponsor, and I'm using that money to invest in team to help me build the channel bigger and get to more people. So I'd consider it, but right now it's not something I'm even worried about. The only thing I'm worried about right now is like, how do I just get traction?
Get on different podcasts, get on, speaking events, things like that. Just get your name out there. Not that you need to. I mean,
I do need to do more of that. We'll see. I mean, I really think this thing could go slow. I think YouTube's really hard these days. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you have so many followers already.
They got to know I'm doing it again, though.
Exactly. So as soon as they find out that you're there, it's going to be.
I hope so. That's what everybody tells me. I'm the pessimist. I'm usually not the pessimist. I'm a little bit of a pessimist on this one. I'm like,
You brought up John Caldwell, and you talked about doing maybe some projects with him. Have you guys been talking about doing something together again?
Yeah, we talk about it, but we don't necessarily have the idea that just gets us super excited. We know what it takes to build a good software company. And even if you have tons of money, it's still a very painful activity. And it's like, for us to do that again, we have to be really excited. And then also it has to be an idea where we feel like we can innovate. So I don't think most people will even be aware of this, but with Service Autopilot, we were the first on so many things.
I knew that. Like first web-based, right?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, there were other web-based programs, but it's like not really in the spaces we served. And then we were early on mobiles. We are the automation guys. Now everybody's got automations. We were auto invoicing. I can just go down the list of like these things, not that they didn't exist somewhere else out there in the world, but in the home services space where we played, we were the first. And we drove that market, and that's what we wanted to do. And we were excited about that. And so unless we can do that again, in something where we get to drive the market and we're innovating. And sometimes we're like, why did we? Our old joke used to be, John and Jonathan build an automation system that can do whatever you want. And Jobber's like, well, here's the 10 automations they're running. They just go hard code the 10 automations. Like they're the 80-20 guys. John and Jonathan are like the build everything guys. And Jobber was always our joke. Like they just did a great job. It was like, oh, that worked over there. We'll just copy that feed. I'm not saying, I don't know what they did. They might have, but they just build the one thing to end. But that doesn't get us excited. Like we like the innovation. That was part of the fun for us.
How much has technology, like with AI, coding, things that changed in the last 5 years since or 10 years, however long it's been since you started?
I mean, since we started, it's just not even the same world. And that doesn't have anything to do with AI.
Like things are so much easier, right?
When John and I started, we had to spin up, so we had to get a data center and then we had to spin up, well, our joke was we had a laptop that was running at a rack space and we were paying $1,200 a month and we hadn't even started doing anything yet. We didn't have a system yet, but we had to still get our $1,200 a month laptop. It wasn't really a laptop, but just like sitting in a rack somewhere. And that was just one little computer. And very quickly you'd need multiples to have redundancy and such, and then when Riley started his company, he goes out to Amazon and puts a credit card on file. And, and it's like, okay, you can have free web hosting for the next 6 months while you build your application. And then you can start out paying $60 a month and then $80 a month. Like it's not even that. That's just one example. Or another would be when we had to charge your credit card and keep up with generate the invoices for Service Autopilot and do all that stuff. We had to we built all that technology. And now you can just use Stripe. Like Stripe built all the infrastructure, does it all for you. Just like connect to their API with a few lines of code, done. And so it was that example. And then the tech, the tools we use, the programming languages, that stuff just evolved so much over the years. And it's a totally different world. It's not even similar.
Going back to Service Autopilot, do you wish you had built an open API then? Or was it not a thing then?
It was a thing, but it wasn't as big. I mean, that wasn't the conversation back then. I mean, think that the transition was not API back then. The transition was cloud. Cloud and mobile were the things. It was like API, sure. Some people were doing it, but nobody was doing it. I mean, clearly I wish we had made it a whole API back then, but even the way you would have built an API back then was vastly different only a number of years later. So in the beginning, probably wouldn't have quite been the right time to do it, but I would like to say, I wish we had started building in 2015. We were talking about it back then. But again, our bet was automations. I mean, that was the name Autopilot, and it took us years to get there. So let's say in 2015, we started building automations. So we could have said automations or API. I mean, it was still automations, and I still hold that automations was the right call. And so being that we weren't a funded company and we couldn't spend unlimited money on development, we had constraints, and I think for logical reasons, kept putting off the API, but the API is one of the big missing. I mean, you could call it a misstep. It's one of the examples of a thing that's critical that's not in the system. And I wish we had prioritized that more, but it would have meant we deprioritized other things.
Maybe you don't know what you don't know at the time, right? And at the time, you're just doing what's best at that time.
You sit in the design meetings with the team and you argue about what gets to be built next, and everybody agrees API. But here are the things we're hearing from 6,000 people that they need to run their company. And you weigh it and you're like, I think we stay on course, or we build that. We promised people we were going to, do this feature or functionality, and it's going to take 3 months to build it. We do it.
If you were in Service Autopilot now, would you have done it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's why, yes.
Going back, because I can talk about a little more that's done. Do you wish you would have got private equity money and went faster? Or are you still happy with what you did?
No, I'm happy with what we did. If I don't make, we got to do what we wanted to do. We had fun doing it. We learned a ton. I probably would have learned more faster if I'd done the private equity thing, because we'd had more money, and so it would have sped up the learning process for me. I would have got different experiences. But then when I had the experience in private equity land, kind of messed up the original plan. But it was a good experience, but it also showed me I wouldn't raise money to build something now. I don't need to, and I wouldn't, because again, I would optimize for what do I want to do over, could I make an extra? If you said, hey, you could have a venture funded business and you or a private equity funded business, and that's the world you're going to live in for 10 years and you'll make another 50 million bucks, I'd say I don't want it. I think I can make enough doing it myself, and the incremental money to me is not worth it. I don't care.
Did they try to get you to roll equity?
I did roll equity.
Oh, you did?
We wanted to roll equity. We would not consider a deal that didn't include rolling equity.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we rolled a lot of equity.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because then they were going to go public at the time they didn't, right?
No. When we were doing the deal, the talk was in 7 years. But then when COVID happened,
that's typically what it is, 5 to 7 years that they're.
Yeah.
So there's still money on the table, which is kind of cool for you. I mean, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, there's a meaningful amount. If the whole, it's not going to blow up. All the businesses are growing. It's going. But if it blew up, it would really be pretty crushing. it would be bad. Yeah. And will they sell it again and then you'll roll more equity again? Don't know. I don't know. Depends on how the deal's structured. And, it depends on how that deal's structured with the next buyer if they didn't go public. And then on top of that, we're on what's called the cap table, which is just a register of who owns what percentages of the business. And so it's a multi-billion dollar business at this point in valuation. It's worth billions of dollars. And for those listening, I'm talking about Explore, not Service Autopilot. I've heard some rumors of what people think I got for Service Autopilot. I'm like, I wish, but no. Anyway, my point here is that because it's billions of dollars, I'm a small owner on the cap table. And so my percentages might get, cleaned off. They might clean up the cap table. So it could be that the biggest shareholders will roll a percentage of their equity into the next deal, and the small owners will get, they call it taken out. You get paid out, or they may have us roll. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what to expect. That's
cool. So you're learning as you go too.
Yeah, but I understand how the game works, but it just depends on the transaction and what's negotiated and what the other party wants. And so I have no control over that. I don't even give it any thought because I can't impact it or influence it. And the private equity company, Advent, is by far the majority owner of the entire business. And so it's all completely up to them and whoever buys it.
Cool. If there's anyone that's listening that wants to learn a little bit about private equity, there's a really good book called The Private Equity Playbook.
You were telling me you were reading that. Yeah.
Really good.
I have a video coming on that too.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it.
I just give a high level. And if people watch it and like it, I'll give more detail, but I'm just going to see if that's of interest to people.
And so one of your first videos is going to be about robotics, right?
Yeah. So my first video is right now it's just called I'm Back. I mean, there's no SEO behind it, or it's basically just me talking about, hey, I'm back. That would be the first video. So I'll do a couple videos initially. And then, so I'm going to post every Tuesday and Friday. That's my cadence that I'm planning for now. And then I'm going to periodically run a series, and that'll come out every Thursday. And so my first series I'm going to run is on robotics. And that will probably start, the plan right now is for that to start on August 15th.
That's cool. And how long are the series?
That one's going to be 6 parts.
Are they assume long as well?
One is the first one. Oh, I'm trying to decide. The first one's an hour and 5 minutes right now. And that's an interview with a CEO of a company. I'll just wait till it comes out. And then I can't decide if I need to break that into 2 parts. And then the second video is 35 minutes. And that's another interview. And that one is predictions about where the industry is going and who's winning right now in the robotics space.
That's cool. Do you think you go out in the field and actually show these things working, or is that?
We've got B-roll in those videos. And then the next 4 videos are from me talking about, and that there will be B-roll in there of the equipment. A couple of them will have video of I've had a mower at my house for 5 years. And so there's B-roll in there of that mower on my property and some other stuff.
That's sick. Well, JP, you only got 5 minutes left, so you have another call to jump on to. So again, thank you for time. I appreciate it. We'll make sure to put all your links in the bio, and I'm definitely excited. I know I'll subscribe right away. Hopefully I'll be the first one there. So I know I'm already subscribed.
I have 50. You probably are. I have 52 subscribers right now.
I'm one of them already.
But yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Nobody, there's no videos though yet.
I got alerts on too. So as soon as it posts, I'll be there.
And I'd love to hear your feedback. Like, hey, I think you should do this or that. Cause I have, like I said, 7 different concepts for where I could go with this, but I'd love to see what you think might have legs and might work.
Cool. And I'm all about flying to Dallas. If I have to go to Dallas for do an interview, I think it'd be awesome.
No, I'm planning on it. That's a no-brainer. So look forward to it.
Well, again, I appreciate your friendship and your mentorship all over the years and everything that you do for everyone. So thanks for being here.
You're welcome, man. Great seeing you.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, obviously, but the podcast isn't free. You can pay for the podcast by sharing it with your friends and your family. So please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. These things make a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions you want answered about the business or your life by me or my guests, send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about any personal business coaching, check out our website at www.pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next one.